Okay, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and review 1.1 before we move on to distance and midpoint. So, what do you see here? We've got everything that we've talked about so far, right? We have points, lines, and planes. So what are J, K, L, and M? Well, we can see that they're capital letters and that they've got dots next to them, right? So these are examples of points. Remember, all points are written with a single capital letter. Wait, what about this B right here? What is B? Well, this is the whole plane. How do we know that it's not a point? Well, there's no dot, right? There's no dot next to B. It's not at an intersection anywhere, and it doesn't have any other points or rays or lines associated with it. Plus, it's written in that fancy script cursive lettering, so we know that it's a plane. Now, what about this A? This is a lowercase a right here. What do we use lowercase letters for again? That's the label for the whole line. Now, there are lots of different ways to label this line. We know that it's not a point or a plane because it's not a capital letter, right? Okay, so just like we said just a second ago, there are lots of ways. There are 7 ways to label this line right here. Take a minute, think about it, pause the video, see how many you can name. All right, time's up if you didn't pause it. Here are all of the ways that you could label line A, or line JK, or line LJ, or line LK. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways you can get the right answer, right? Now, an example of something that would be incorrect is this line right here is not LM. It's 2 points, but they're not collinear. Remember that collinear word. The order of the points is not important, though. But please make sure you only use 2, that you're using the word line, or you're using the symbol for line, or you're using the letter for line. Okay, now we can name this plane 4 different ways as well. Go ahead, pause it, think about it. All right, if you didn't pause it, time's up. Here are all of the ways that you can name the plane. Note that we're using 3 letters and that we're just using the word plane, or we're using the uppercase fancy letter. And the point order doesn't really matter. Now, something to keep in mind, they can't be collinear. See this? So, JKL is going to be incorrect because they're all collinear. That doesn't really establish a plane because it only has 1 dimension, right? And something that only has 1 dimension is a line. So, real life, rectangular patio models. This looks like a really nice patio. I kind of wish I had this patio. But look at all these rectangles down here, and look at the surface as a whole. What are we representing here? A point, a line, or a plane? It's a plane. Now, what about buttons on a table? Well, if you were zoomed in really close, you might say, oh, well, that's a plane. But if you zoom out really far, it's just a little dot on a flat surface, right? So that's a point. All right, let's take a look at this example. 3 points that are collinear. Go ahead, pause it, take a look. All right, time's up. A, P, and B are all collinear, and D, P, and E are all collinear. Now, the order isn't important here. You could say EDP, and that'd be fine, or BPA, so long as it doesn't include this C, because those are not non-collinear, right? Now, oh, whoops, I gave away the punchline. Is C collinear? No, C is non-collinear. What's the name of the plane? Could I use APB as the name of the plane? No, right? Because it still only has 1 dimension. Those are all collinear. So somewhere in there I'm going to need to include the C, or I could do like APD, or, well, let's see, or R, right? The fancy R, or using 3 of the points. Now there's a million different good answers, but Just make sure it's a correct answer, that it's not a line, that they're coplanar but non-collinear. Okay, here's another one. Name a pair of coplanar points. Coplanar. So C and L are on two different planes, right? So they are non-coplanar, so those don't count. The list is really, really long of coplanar points. And keep in mind that H and I are stuck in the middle here. So this line, BK, cuts through, pokes through both pieces of paper. So this is kind of like a string that goes down through both pieces of paper. And you can tell because it starts out up here, and then you've got these dotted lines where it goes behind the scenes, and now it's back, and then it pokes through, and then it's kind of behind the scenes again. So that's how you look at those different diagrams. Yeah, so you can see that these are non-coplanar, but they are collinear with each other. Okay, so last thing, email or message me these answers. It shouldn't take more than about 5 minutes. Use the last diagram. Go ahead and rewind the video till you get to the diagram again, and then send me the answers to these questions. Great. Thank you, everybody.